Welcome back to yet again another episode of the Upgrade My Rituals podcast. My name is Kevin McKellar, your host as always, and of course this is the show for people that are looking to really take their day to the next level, trying to get some more productivity and efficiency by designing this ideal day that ultimately when their head hits the pillow at the end of the night, they feel fantastic about what they did and where they're going. And today is a very important and interesting episode that I'm surprised it took me 51 episodes to get to, but it's important that we have something here for you to act as a guide to actually spell out what ritual design actually is. What is this system that I teach my students? Like, what is this? So what we're going to do is we're going to now pull together a couple of clips from the third module of the Royal Ritual Program, that's my course and coaching hybrid program that actually is in development right now. So while I was doing this, I said, you know what, let's actually put all this together and put this in one episode, an abbreviated episode, of course, so you guys can actually take with you what you need and kind of just jump into ritual design, right? And what's cool is that you don't even technically need one of the planners to actually get started with. You can technically do this. Without it, it's tricky because this is designed for that, but you can do this. So without further ado, let's get into Module 3 of the Royal Ritual Program. Welcome to Module 3, Day 3. Thank you so much. I'm really excited that we're going to go really, really deep today. We're going to get into the meat and potatoes of what ritual design actually is, and you're going to create your very first one. So with that being said, if you haven't already gone through Day 1, Module 1, and Day 2, getting yourself a really good, clear foundation with your goals set, your domain set, that will have an impact on today's work. So if you haven't done that already, go back and at least take care of Day 2. And if you have, let's get started. Okay, so in this first lesson, we're going to be very short and very sweet. We're going to talk about a brief overview of what ritual design actually is and why it is so beneficial that you really leverage it in a different way that you ever have when it comes to random habits and random morning routines or whatever it may be. Ritual design is a complete system that looks at your entire day, and it looks at all these inflection points that, on average, most people experience throughout an ordinary day. We also take in consideration what actually the thing or things that build momentum, gives you that emotional and or tactical juice to continue this whole process. What the problems that will always come into place, like what is that thing that kind of derails this whole system? What is the things that you have to do primarily really once a week, right? And what happens when we have a variable schedule? What happens when we have weird hours that we have to work, or maybe we just want to do something different on a weekend? So ultimately, we start with our fundamental 4. And the fundamental 4 are the 4, again, inflection points throughout a normal 9-to-5ers type of day. And I say that, you may be running your own business, you may work a job, you may be in school, you may be whatever it may be. Ultimately, we realize that the moment we wake up, we have a lot happening physically and mentally. The transition, number 2, from where our morning takes us into our work day or our school day, whatever it may be. The next and third inflection point, the transition out of that work day or that, time that we're really putting in whatever it is, like I said, a business or whatever it may be. And then ultimately, what are we doing right before we go to bed? And again, another place where this is much more of a physical transformation than it is a mental and emotional one. So I'll walk you through it. Let's take an example of somebody who has never even thought about ritual design before and really lets life happen to them and not for them, right? So they wake up, and what do? The first decision we do is we hit snooze on the alarm clock, right? So the first decision is to procrastinate. After we know that we have literally no more time or else we're going to get late to work, be late to work, we have to rush through a morning and we have to literally just respond to people and the environment's, agenda versus their own, right? So they're answering emails on their phone already. They're texting their mother-in-law, whatever it may be. They're trying to get the kids ready for school, trying to make some breakfast or whatever it is. And, usually that might result in, I'm just going to stop and get some coffee on the way, right? Now we're sitting in traffic and we're taking this time to, try to reflect on, God, why am I even doing this? Because I hate my job. I hate my boss, right? Or whatever it is. We go to work and then we put in a full 8 hours. And again, this is just the average day with all the emotional baggage that comes with work, right? So there's a lot of in-office drama. There is, like a crappy boss, whatever it may be. We don't really do anything to make that a smooth transition from, going from putting on your personal family hat on into your business hat. And then the same thing at the end of the day. We're tired, we're hungry, we're just shot. And what do? We just stop at the drive-thru and get a snack before we go home or whatever it may be. Usually not a healthy one. Clearly it's a drive-thru. But again, we don't take that business hat off and put the family hat back on. Now we go home, and what's the first thing we do? We sit down in front of the TV. And we unload our day's problems on our spouse or our family, whatever it may be. And then we're just rushing around to get some dinner together and, just maybe, watch a game or something to have a little bit of escapism. And then we try to stay up as late as we can because we want more of that because we don't want to repeat the next day what we just did. That is a prime example of somebody who has letting life kind of just come at them and they're not taking any control of their 24 hours because we all have the same 24 hours. So now let's paint a very positive picture, and we're going to use the fundamental these 4 major routines that we're going to implement into those inflection points so we can kind of take control of our day. So the first thing that we wake up, we're going to create a little morning routine, and I like to call the AM routine, right? Pretty easy to remember. AM routine, we invest in you. The first decision of your day is something on your terms, and it's an investment in your mind, body, and spirit, right? Awesome. The second routine that we're going to put into place is called the BW routine, the before work routine, right? So now what we're going to be doing is we'll get more into the details of the BW routine when the lesson comes, but ultimately we're going to be looking at transitioning from out of our family life into our work life. Now, this may take, a combination of things that we do at home and at the office, or all maybe at the office or all at home. It really is up to you. Third, we're going to take a look at the AW routine, the after work routine. And this, again, is a transition out of work or closing our laptop from the day if we're working from home and transitioning into our family life, our home life, and making sure that we're using that time as not a crutch in our life, but an advantage. And then finally, what is it that we do right before we go to the bed? And we're going to implement a PM routine or an evening routine. And this is going to set us up ultimately for success the next day. So those are the fundamental 4s. And in the fundamental 4 lesson, we're going to get into more specifics. But then we have to talk about what's called the actuator and the clog. Now, these are really cool parts of this ritual design because now what we're going to do is we're going to look at the thing that really, really helps you along and the big problems that get in the way. So the actuator is literally the thing that moves the fluids, right? Or moves the, we'll say in the car, right? Move the fluids through the flaps of the car to actually, make the combustion engine run, right? And we actually build momentum. So that may be something as simple as help your kids with homework. It's part of your AW routine, but it's so awesome. It's emotional juice, and every time you hit it, it gives you that extra encouragement to continue the ritual design. But then there's the clog. And the clog is something that kind of stops you and really hurts. It puts a halt on your entire ritual design. And if you think about it, we know you've experienced a clog in your life before because you've told yourself, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to wake up like a half an hour early and I'm going to go to the gym. And then your alarm went off, but you hit snooze. So now that's a really tricky one to decide what actually was the clog. Was it me hitting the snooze? Was it me not prepping the night before with my clothes and my protein shake or my pre-workout shake to make sure that I have that momentum to not hit snooze? Is it a fight that I had with my spouse? Who knows what it is, but there's a clog there somewhere. And in this whole system with 4 different routines, you're going to face a clog. So we're going to go over that together and uncover what your specific one is. So the last 2 parts of the ritual design is actually 2 more routines. It's the Keystone routine and the variable routine. Now, the Keystone routine is going to be something that you do only once a week. It's going to be your weekly routine. It's that thing that sets up the entire week for success and make sure that implementing the ritual design in every single day is that much easier. And we'll get into some specifics as that lesson comes up. And then finally, the variable routine. The variable routine is actually optional. This is only for if you have a weird schedule and say you work Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you have this, kind of like this shortened little morning routine, but then on Tuesday and Thursday, you really want to have a full-fledged morning routine where you meditate and you work out and you drink a healthy shake, whatever it is. That's where that variable routine can come into play. And that ultimately is a really brief overview of what ritual design actually is. So there's 5 parts. The fundamental 4, the 4 major inflection points and routines that we're going to instill throughout our day, the AM routine, the BW, before work, AW, after work, and PM, your evening routine. The actuator, the thing that really helps the routine continue and have momentum. The clog, what ultimately stops the whole thing and derails you. And of course, the keystone and the variable routine. So let's get into it, and I'll see you in lesson 2, and we're going to really uncover and create your own first fundamental 4. All right, so I hope you guys got a better understanding of kind of what ritual design actually is. How do we leverage the fundamental 4? What is the variable and keystone routines? And ultimately, what is your actuator and what is your clog? So with that being said, I want to wrap up today with a couple things. One, if you haven't signed up for the planner launch date, that's coming really soon. So definitely you click the link in the show notes, and you guys can sign up to get a 30% discount for initial founders of the planner. On second note, the Royal Ritual Program is going to be launching soon as well. And what's really cool about that is for the first 10 students, I'm doing a huge discount, literally probably like a 90% discount. And the reason why I'm doing that is I'm trying to validate and I'm trying to get feedback early on in this process to make sure that this course and program is an unbelievable experience for all my other students. So if you guys want to save literally like I said, probably about 90 to 95% of the enrollment fees, click the link in the show notes as well. And that's going to take you into another page, and you can sign up there and we'll get started together. So thank you once again for listening to the Upgrade My Rituals podcast, and I will see you next week.